Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda. We're continuing to look at the Christmas carols and look at the truths about the gospel of Jesus Christ that we find within them. Today we are looking at a carol called the First Nowell. It's an old Cornish carol, comes from Cornwall, which actually is why the word Noel is spelt with a W. On many carol sheets you'll see it printed with a French tréma, the E with two little dots over it, but actually it's the Cornish version. It's the First Nowell, Nowell. And the words basically talk, well, the first verse, of course, is about the angels appearing to the shepherds, but the rest of it is all about the wise men. And basically, for most of the carol, it doesn't go deep into doctrine. It just describes the events as they happen. The first Noel, the angel did say, was to certain poor shepherds in fields as they lay, in fields where they lay keeping their sheep on a cold winter's night that was so deep. Noel, Noel, born is the King of Israel. They looked up and saw, well, this is where the phrasing and the rhyming can sometimes get a little bit difficult, because obviously English back in those days, many centuries ago, was a little bit different from English today. And so when we're singing these, sometimes it's hard to get them to scan right. They look it up and saw a star shining in the east beyond them far. And to the earth it gave great light, and so it continued both day and night. Now, not actually sure that is the case, that it continued both day and night, because whenever we read the Bible version, what we do see is that the star rose and the wise men saw it, but then we don't read about them seeing the star again until they've made their way to Israel and they've arrived in Jerusalem at Herod's palace. So it says, and by the light of that same star, 3 wise men came from country far. To seek for a king was their intent, and to follow the star wherever it went. Well, again, we don't know that there were 3 wise men. We know that they brought 3 gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh, but nowhere does the Bible say there were 3 wise men. This star drew nigh to the northwest, or Bethlehem it took its rest, and there it did both stop and stay right over the place where Jesus lay. Well, again, yes, the star, once they'd been to Herod's palace, the wise men saw the star again, and they did follow the star to Bethlehem. Fortunately, Bethlehem is not to the northwest of Jerusalem. It's actually to the southeast, unless you're talking about Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Then entered in those wise men 3 full reverently upon the knee, and offered there in his presence their gold and myrrh and frankincense. Again, the rhyming and the scanning is getting a little bit difficult here. Now, there were other verses, and often when we look back in history, we see verses that were taken out of the carols. And there was a verse here that said, "'Tween an ox manger and an ass, our blessed Messiah's place it was." Again, was doesn't really rhyme with ass very well, so we don't sing this verse today. "To save us all from bond and thrall, he was a redeemer for us all." And then some people added in, over time, they added in another verse next, and thank God it's been removed from most modern versions of it. It said, "If we in our time shall do well, we shall be free from death and hell, for God hath prepared for us all a resting place in general." Well, all doesn't rhyme with general, not the way I speak English, but also this verse was terrible, because we don't avoid death and hell by doing well. We avoid death and hell by Jesus dying on the cross for us in our stead. So I thank God that attempt to add some theology to this carol didn't work, because it was bad theology. But the final verse pulls it all together. "Then let us all with one accord sing praises to our heavenly Lord, that hath made heaven and earth of naught, and with his blood mankind hath bought." And you know what? All the funny phrasing and rhyming and everything else, I can forgive all of that just for this one wonderful verse, that we are part of a great cloud of witnesses that sing praises to God, the saints down through the ages. And he made heaven and earth from nothing, creation out of nothing. You don't expect to find that suddenly coming up in a Christmas carol, but it does in this one. That hath made heaven and earth of naught, from nothing, and with his blood mankind hath bought. The fact that Jesus Christ on the cross, because he came in Bethlehem as a baby, would die on the cross, and his blood paid the price for our sins to be forgiven. And for that line alone, this carol is worth singing. Look, God bless you. Join us next time for another Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda.